Hi, I'm Ben Willmore for CreativePro. Here I want to share a tip with you for how to force a color into an object that used to be black. And that's because most of the color adjustments available in Photoshop are ineffective on black or white objects. They're great at shifting the color of something that was already in color, but not for making a black object turn a particular color. Here's how it's done using curves in Photoshop. The first thing we'll need to do is isolate the area we'd like to change. To do that, I'm going to use the Object Selection tool. And up here in the Options bar, I'm going to set it up. First, I'm going to change this from rectangle to lasso. That will allow me to draw an odd shape in order to select a specific area. Then I'm going to turn on Sample All Layers in case we end up using layers. Now, this is a picture of my wife, Karen, and I would like to change the color of her sports bra. So to do so, I'm going to click and drag like this to make a very loose indication of what I would like to be selected. And when I let go of the mouse button, Photoshop will use artificial intelligence to attempt to figure out which edge I really wanted to isolate. And it did a pretty good job, but it missed some areas. Well, all I need to do is hold down the Shift key if I need to add, and I can draw over another area, just making sure that that selection overlaps the one I've already done. Then I'll do the same thing on the opposite side to add that. And if I need to take away, like up here where the skin is, I can hold down the Option key, Alt in Windows, and trace over that so it finds that particular edge and knows I want to remove it. Now we need to figure out what color would we like that area to become. To do so, I'm going to come over here to another document. This can be any picture as long as it's in the same color space. That means sRGB, Adobe RGB, and so on. And what I'm going to do is come to the Window menu and choose Info. When the Info panel is open, if I move my mouse over my image, you'll find the numbers changing in there. If you look at the RGB numbers, they stand for red, green, and blue, and they tell me the formula that Photoshop is using to create the color that's underneath my mouse. Here, I want to make my wife's sports bra to look red. So I'm going to pick one of the reds that are in here. And I think I'm going to go for maybe about this color where my mouse is currently. Well, now all I need to do is look in the Info panel. And there I see numbers, and those numbers are a precise description of that specific red that's under my mouse. So I'm just going to remember them, or in my case, write them down, because I won't remember. Then I'm going to go to our other document, and now let's use them. What I'll do is here in my Layers panel, I'm going to do an adjustment layer. I'm going to choose a type of curves, and in curves, there's a hand icon up here. That hand icon, clicking on it just means I no longer want to use whatever tool is currently selected over here in the Tools panel. Instead, I want to do something specific to curves, so I'll click on it. Then this pop-up menu up here above the curves determines what kind of change we're going to make to the image. If you leave it set to its default of RGB, you're only going to affect brightness. If you want to affect color, you'll have to click there and individually adjust these three curves. Let's start with red. Now, since I have this hand tool turned on, I can move my mouse onto my image, and what I want to do is find the brightest part of the object that I isolated. And it doesn't have to be precise. I'm going to guesstimate that over here is the brightest part. All I'm going to do is click there. When I do, it adds a dot to the curve. I'm not going to move that dot manually. Instead, I'm going to look at the numbers that appear at the bottom. The input number tells me the exact amount of red that was in the area I just clicked on. The output number indicates how much red do I want to end up with when I'm done with this adjustment. So all I'm going to do is type in the number I wrote down from that other document. It was 164, and now you can see that her sports bra is turning red. It's not the exact shade of red from the other document though, because we have yet to adjust the other two colors needed. Let's go to green and just repeat the process. I'll move my mouse over the image, click on the brightest area of that object, come down here, and input tells you what we're starting with, output determines what we're going to end up with, and the number I have written down for green is 0. Then I'll come up here and change it to blue and repeat the process. I'll come over here, click on that bright area again, and select the output number. And this is where I'm going to put in the third number that I got from the info panel, and that was 1. So now if you look at the color of the bra, it should match the other image. But oftentimes I need to fine tune it. First, if the brightness is off a little bit, sometimes it will be, then change this to the top choice of RGB. Then you can just move your mouse over to the image as long as the hand tool is still active. Click on the area that's too dark and just act like you have a dimmer switch in your hand. Pull down if you need to darken or push up if you need to brighten. And you can fine tune the exact brightness of that area. So there you go. There is how you can push color into an object that used to be black using curves in Photoshop.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. And for thousands more how-to articles and tutorials, visit our website, CreativePro.com, and become a member today. Thanks for learning with us.